We're back with Dan Perkins, and you know, one of the things that I really, really believe in is education. And that's one of the things that you do best. Am I correct?
Yeah, the reason I did the blog, I did a typewritten newsletter for many, many years. And I put it out quarterly, and I struggled with it. And I had a client who said to me, you know, I really like what you say in your newsletter, but I don't have time to read it all the time. Could you consider doing a video blog? And I said, sure. And then I began to realize that unlike a piece of paper that they throw away at the end of the day, when you put a blog on the internet, it's there forever.
So you better do it right.
Well, I try to do. But what that means for my clients and prospects is that they have a pool of now over 6 years worth of videos that they can go back and they can listen to and watch about what I was saying about the markets at various times. In my relationships with my clients, I believe communication is important, but education is important. And as we talked earlier, I said I try and meet with my clients personally, in person, every quarter to go over, because it's important for me to find out, did you have a new grandchild? Has your husband's health changed? Has your health changed? Are you changing your mind about retirement, either doing it or not doing it? Because I have to invest in the money, and I may have to readjust the money based on changes that take place in your life. You know, there are a lot of people who say, you buy something and hold it forever. Forever is a long time.
Are there some things that have just jumped and the dividends turn out to be absolutely wonderful in any year, any given year?
Yes, that's probably most true in a structure that I invest in called royalty trusts.
Okay.
You typically find royalty trust in oil and natural gas. So what happens is you drill a well, a developer drills a well, and once he hits a well, he will cap it, and then he'll sell the well to a trust. The trust takes over the ownership, and they get 16 2/3% of the revenue generated at the wellhead from the oil or natural gas that's sold. So oil and natural gas prices can be somewhat volatile. So in a case of a royalty trust, your dividend is a function of the market price of the commodity, oil and natural gas. Now, it's a tax structure, which we can talk about later, but they tend to pay the largest dividends. Now, there's another structure called a REIT, which is a real estate investment trust. Doesn't necessarily have to own real estate, but you could own, for example, the mortgages on single-family homes. There are a number of mortgage REITs in the entire debacle of the housing market in 2008, 2009, never missed a coupon payment because they only invested in U.S. government guaranteed mortgages. Those types of structures pay much higher rates of return. Again, because their tax structure is a flow-through of income, you get more cash flow. So what does that mean? If I have an investment that's paying me a dividend of 2% versus I have an investment that pays me a dividend of 7%, then I have to put less money in my 7% investment to generate X dollars of cash flow for my overall portfolio, which means the dividend yield, the cash flow, income, which people need to spend to pay their bills, can be spread over a broader base so that I can get more cash flow and more income with less exposure to any one particular investment. Very important. See, most of my clients are at, near, or approaching retirement age.
And what do you consider retirement age today?
Well, people ask me, am I going to retire? And I say,
no.
No.
Okay, so that's my point. So that's changed quite a bit, don't you think?
Well, yes, sort of. The Census Bureau reported that starting in January the 1st, 2012, a year and a half ago, 10,000 Americans a day are going to retire in this country every day, 365 days a year, for the next 19 years. Now, I truly believe, based on my client base, that a large percentage of those people who are retiring over the next 19 years have no clue what to do with their money.
Well, and then on top of it, you have to throw the Bernie Madoff deal in there, that they may have wanted to retire, or they may have invested with him, and now they're back working.
Oh, it's actually worse than Bernie. Our generation has seen 3 assaults on our net worth in the last 12 years of 40% decline in value. We had the 2001 bombing in New York City, dropped the market 42%. People went from the market into real estate, and real estate prices on a national basis dropped almost 40%. Then we had the crash of 2008 and 2009, another 40%. So there were a lot of people outside of Bernie Madoff who are in that position today, have seen a significant decline in net worth, both in real estate value and investment portfolios, especially retirement accounts, that they can't afford to retire even if they wanted to.
And so they're back working.
They have to.
I had a lot of people that I knew that invested with Bernie Madoff, which was when I heard how much money that they had. And let's talk a little bit about that scandal for a minute or two,
Sure.
if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
What actually happened? He was greedy, let's face it, right?
Well, yes, he was greedy, but...
And then weren't there Ponzi schemes going on during that period? Terrible.
But it all comes down to one word.
Okay.
Transparency. What happened with Bernie Madoff is that you never really knew what you owned. For 40 years, I've never taken possession of any client's assets. Every client that I've had for the last 40 years, their money is held or custodied at a bank or a trust or a brokerage firm, all in their name. In the case of Bernie, he basically took the money in and gave you a statement that said you had this when in fact you didn't.
Didn't have it because
he took the money and he kept using money to pay distributions to old shareholders and old investors to keep their rates up high, to keep them interested. But when it all collapsed, it collapsed because somebody said, as a wonderful children's story, the emperor wore no clothes, had no clothes. Well, when Bernie was exposed that there was nothing underneath his statements, a lot of people lost billions of dollars.
And his son committed suicide, correct?
Yeah.
And where is his family today?
Some of it's in jail.
In jail?
Along with him. Disgraced.
Right.
But I don't know. I really don't know whether Bernie, the gentleman who said, I'm going to do this, he made a conscious decision to swindle billions of dollars.
Well, let me ask this question. Didn't his family know? They had to know. I can't believe that they didn't know what was going on. But there were a lot of other companies out there that were involved in the real estate market, and a lot of people lost money on that deal, right, because of loans that were put out there that to people that really couldn't afford the mortgages. Then we had interest-only mortgages and a lot of other stuff that caused a lot of loss. Am I correct?
Yeah. We created a situation, and I don't mean to be political here. I'm trying to be factual. There are 3 people in Congress who were responsible, in my opinion, that led to the collapse of the housing market in 2008.
Okay, here. Who were they?
Christopher Dodd, senator from Connecticut.
Right.
Barney Frank, congressman from Massachusetts, and Maxine Waters. And to a lesser degree, Bill Clinton. Those 2 congressmen and that senator changed what is called the community lending rules. And you can go back on the internet. This is, I talk about, my stuff is back 6 years on the internet. You can go back and do a Google search on hearings, and you can hear Maxine Waters chastising Fannie and Freddie about not making enough loans to the poor so they can have a home.
And on that note, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back right after these messages, and we will find out why. We'll be right back on Born Before 64 with Dan Perkins.